Welcome back, everybody. We are the rest of the field. My name is Jason Gorman with Chris Weiler, Deke, and Ben Christensen. This is episode number 8, and we're jumping right into it. One of our favorite segments here is What's on Deke's Dome? And this week, we're going to hand it over to the man, the myth, the legend, the man with the dome. Deke, what do you got up top today?
Well, I have a Minnesota Twins batting hat, and I got this in Minneapolis at the Mall of America. The reason I have a Twins hat is it's sort of my American League team. I live right on the border in La Crosse, which is right on the border of Minnesota, not too far from Minneapolis. And my wife is a huge Twins fan, so she kind of nudged me to that, and I like the Twins, so that's my dome.
I like it. So your wife.
I also have a red shirt on, which sort of matches the hat. I know you guys were going for that last week.
Yeah. What's on the shirt?
Oh, it's Vince Carter. It's over. His dunk.
Well, and we'll talk about NBA later, but his career looks like it might be over as well. But your wife, you said she's a huge Twins fan. Does that also make her a Vikings fan?
No. She's a full-out Packer fan. She has as much dislike for the Vikings as I do, so another reason why I love her.
Match made in heaven. So,
Yeah.
Chris, thumbs up or thumbs down to the Twins batting hat?
Thumbs up. I love the font. It's really thin. It looks clean on there. I really like that. So thumbs up. And to one point quick, you can definitely be a Twins fan in Wisconsin. You just can't be like a Vikings fan. So it makes sense for Bethany because you can't really cross over Packer Vikings. So yeah, all around double thumbs up for Deke today. Well played.
2 thumbs. Ben?
Let's go.
I'll give it a thumbs up. I mean, I'm not giving it a double. 1 is okay, and I'll wiggle it a little bit, so it's a fancy thumb.
Fancy.
The hat matches the shirt, so that's always a good thing.
Yes. All right, there we go.
Story could have been a little deeper behind it, but
Yeah, I mean, the hat matches the shirt in terms of color, and he still has yet to really tie in the shirt and hat as one. You know, like a Twins shirt or a Minnesota themed shirt to go along with the Twins hat. But it does match via color. And what we can see right now, because he has his camera up so high, all you can see is the color. You can't see what's on it. So, I'll see now.
When you said that, did you see Deke's reaction when he was like, that's what you guys have been trying to say for the past 3 weeks. Now I understand. I need to match my hat with a Twin shirt.
So work in progress.
It is. And for those of you who are listening and not watching, what we mean by the batting hat, I don't know if it's still currently going on, but they had an alternate hat maybe a year or 2 years ago where the front panel was a different color. In this case, it's white. So he's wearing a navy hat with the TC logo, red bill, and then the front panel being white. So as opposed to an all navy hat, it has a different color for that front panel. So it was just a different hat that they wore for probably spring training and then batting practice throughout the regular season. And so that's what Deke's got on his dome this week. I'll give it a thumbs up too. I'm not a Twins hater. I have plenty of buddies out there who are Twins fans, as I went to school over in Minnesota, and we like to make friendly wagers based on Brewers and Twins seasons and who's going to be better teams. So I follow them. I don't necessarily like them, but I don't dislike them. So
Can I try to get a double thumbs up from Ben? Ben, I did buy this prior to going to a Twins Royals game with my wife. So does that make it a little deeper? You give me 2 thumbs on that, or
I'll give you the Hawaiian thumbs up.
Okay, all right.
So,
I gotta
sales pitch.
You paid premium for that? You bought it at the stadium?
Well, no, I mean, if you must have not been listening to the previous story, I said I bought it at the Mall of America. Thank you, Ben.
Oh, I missed that part. But when you said you bought it previous to a game, I thought it was like, hey, we're going into the game. Let me grab a hat quick.
Yeah, that is how it went, but at the Mall of America.
Gotcha. Okay, that was my fault. All right. Well, that was this week's segment of What's on Deke's Dome. And this week it was a Twins hat, and he got, let's see, 4 thumbs up in the process, and a Hawaiian,
Yeah.
I don't know what that sign is called.
Hang loose.
Hang loose.
Hang loose. Is that like the name of the sign?
Yeah.
Cool.
Hang loose.
All right. Hang loose,
Google
man.
it.
I don't want to. So last week we did a few different drafts, like usual. And the first one we did a week ago was our all-time rapper draft. And here you can see the 4 different playlists or teams that we drafted. I was team number 1. Deke was team 2. I believe Chris was team 3, and Ben was team 4. And this is how the results turned out. That poll ended last night. And so I ended up pulling away on that one. To be honest, I was really happy with my team. Everybody I thought had really good teams. If I didn't win, I was still going to be happy with my squad because that's who I like to listen to. I guess minus Drake. I don't really listen to a whole lot of Drake. Chris coming in, or no, I'm sorry, Deke coming in second place. Right behind him was Ben, and then Chris in 4th place. So anybody, I mean, obviously I was the only one who won. Anybody super disappointed in the result?
I'm a little shocked of Chris coming in last. I thought he had a nice squad. Kind of shocked by that.
I think the thing is that, Tupac and Biggie are always considered 2 of the best, but, people that are, let's say, Deke's age and younger, who may be some of our followers, it's Deke's age and older that listen to Tupac and Biggie. So I personally didn't listen to a ton of Tupac and Biggie. Their main songs, right, but not all of them. And Dr. Dre became more of a producer than an actual rapper. So he was part of a lot of songs, but not necessarily the rapper in the songs. So maybe some gets lost. Like he definitely has a good squad, but maybe part of it gets lost there.
Thanks for the love, Deke. But yeah, great analysis, Jason. I'll give you that.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so let's turn it over then to our weekend draft, which we did a Saturday Night Live cast draft. So we did all-time Saturday Night Live cast members, and in this one, Chris was cast 1. I was cast 2, and then Deke was cast 3, and Ben rounding it out at cast 4. And the results on that one were Chris went from last place in the week-long draft to first place in the weekend draft, taking the majority of the vote. I was right behind him, and then Deke was in 3rd, and Ben was in 4th. So congratulations, Chris. And same question, I guess. Anybody really shocked by the results here?
No, I just got grilled on Twitter about Tracy Morgan, and I want to call it out. Yeah, and I panicked on that pick. I told shout out to Steve Teeters. He follows us, has a lot of interaction with us, but he was wondering about the Tracy Morgan pick, and I told him I panicked. I just didn't know what to do, and all I thought it was Tracy Morgan in the stairwell with Big Ben Wallace in that commercial, and he just says Big Ben Wallace or whatever, how that went. But, so anyway, I'm gonna have to have a better draft this week.
Yeah, shout out to Steve. He does offer a lot of comments, which is awesome because we all interact with him on Twitter, and a lot of good points. So like he thought for sure Phil Hartman should have been taken, and I don't necessarily disagree. But what I did tell him is that it's really tough for us, right? Because we're picking not only who we like in each of these drafts personally, but then we also have to think, well, who might get us the best vote? And then we also are looking at different rankings and things like that, and who might rank high all time, like a Phil Hartman, but they may not be somebody that we personally like or watched, and then somebody that we think is going to get the vote. So while I agree, Phil Hartman is one of the all-time best for the Saturday Night Live cast, it just doesn't always work for a draft. It's just like a fantasy sport draft, right? Where you may realize that somebody's really good, but it just may not fit on your team and how you want to construct your squad in terms of competing for that season. Or in Deke's case, it may be a Minnesota Viking and they may be the best person on the board, but he's going to bypass them no matter what.
Absolutely. Can I give the updates on the drafts, the totals? Winners?
Oh, sure. Are you including these two?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, first, it's interesting. Well, I mean, it's interesting. You know, Jason wins a draft, and we don't throw that one out, but that's neither here nor there.
I did win a draft that was threw out. That was the first one we threw out, was a draft that I won with Chris, and it got thrown out.
So, okay.
Technically, it wasn't a win; it was a tie.
Well, it's still a win in my book.
Deke is at 3 with dessert draft, Jordan teammate draft, and the soda draft. JT Jason Gorman is at 3. He has won the Jock Jams draft, Adam Sandler movies, and the rapper draft. Chris C. Double Wila, he's at 3 as well. He won the current NFL squad draft, animated TV shows, and SNL cast. And Ben is at 2. Wah, wah, wah. You have won the Olympic team draft and the all-time wrestlers. So 3-3-3-2. Pretty
right.
even, Steven.
Well, we'll see if this week and then this weekend we break that tie, or maybe Ben has the chance to put himself alone in first place. So that wraps up our recap of our drafts, and it takes us right to our Twitter poll question, which we based on the match 2 or 2.0. And what we did is we asked what broadcaster athlete combo we would want to see in another match with, say, Tiger and Phil. And this is how it panned out. And Barkley and Steph Curry were the winners there. But just behind them were Tony Romo and Aaron Rodgers. And then Chris Harrison, who is the host of The Bachelor. And then I put Bachelor as in whoever the Bachelor is at that time, or you could pick a Bachelor. It didn't really matter. It was just something different to throw on there because I had heard that Chris Harrison is a pretty good Pro-Am golfer. He competes in a lot of those events. And then in fourth place being John Smoltz and Mike Trout. So that was a fun little poll, a little timely thing. And not only in golf, but a lot of sports are coming back. So with that, this week's Twitter poll question is, which sport are you most excited to get back? We've heard a lot of different things. We know PGA is coming back here. Is that not this weekend, but the following weekend? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then NBA, we're going to talk about in a minute. And MLB, they're still in discussions. They're kind of dragging their feet the most. And I don't know a ton about NHL coming back, but it sounds like they're coming right back into the postseason, into the playoffs, from what I've heard. And I could be wrong there. I just don't know a ton about it. But we'll throw this one around the horn. We'll start here with Deke. Deke, how do you feel? I'm guessing you're going to go basketball, but which sport are you most excited to get back?
Yeah, it's NBA for me, simply because my favorite team for all sports teams is the Bucks. So I want them to have a chance to finally win a championship in my lifetime. And I think will you consider that just as great because of, if it does all happen in Orlando? Are you going to be that excited, or are you going to take it kind of with a grain of salt that it's not? Yeah, not that it's not legitimate. It's just not a regular season championship. Yeah, I did vote for the asterisk when we had that poll question. So I think for me, I kind of want to see how this plays out and how they do it and how they execute, how they're going to have the rest of the season and playoffs. Again, a lot of it is the atmosphere you get, the feeling you get when watching the game. And if it does turn out to be more like a summer league game or something like that, I probably won't be as excited. Right. So I think still to be determined on my excitement level on that, but I want basketball back. It's my favorite sport. It's my favorite team. So I'm most excited for that. All right, Chris, are you with Deke on that, or are you going a different route?
I'm with Deke on that. I think they'll find ways to make it seem like there's either fans in the stands or kind of just hone in on the court with maybe some background noise with commentary. So they'll figure that out if we need to. Definitely we'll be excited. Think it's still legit. You still gotta play basketball, and we all want to see sports. So it's what we have to do for right. No MLS on that list. Typical Jason, I tell you.
So
really kills me.
And right, a question for you, because I can only do 4 on a Twitter poll, and I was going to combine NHL with another one. I did NHL because their season had already played the regular season, and they're coming into the postseason, whereas MLS is sort of delaying the start. Is that right, or did they already start and stop?
Yeah, so they've had individual optional practices or workouts, I believe, for recent. But I think what I read recently was they had like a 48 hours to answer the owner's new proposal.
But they never started their season, right?
Never. Yeah, they started 2 games their season, so that was it, and now they're stopped. So.
Okay, I got you.
Yep.
Actually,
so I think they're signed. Everything went through though today, so they're going back to Orlando as well. I didn't see anything on the formats or anything like that, but it seems like they'll be getting underway here in the next few weeks as well.
Awesome. So maybe we can bring everybody some more coverage on that. And I actually did know that they started their season because we actually happened to be out and about for Ben's bachelor party when Atlanta United was taking on the new team in Nashville for the first game of the season. And we didn't go to this venue to watch that game, but we ended up kind of right in the thick of it. So it was really interesting to see, because we know that Atlanta United has a huge following in the city of Atlanta, one of the bigger followings in the MLS. And we were right. We found that out very quickly. I mean, it was a raucous atmosphere. Everybody was there to watch soccer. So Ben, I'm going to guess golf, but maybe I'm wrong. Where are you going there?
It's tough. I mean, I would say basketball, just for the fact that the Bucks are doing well this season. You know, if the Bucks weren't in it, I would probably go golf, just because I do enjoy watching golf. I mean, I'm used to having it on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday here at the house, you know, catching rounds and watching stuff. So from an enjoyment, I would say golf. If the Bucks make it to the finals and win, then that pushes it that way for me. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
So if the Bucks don't make it, you don't really care that basketball came back.
Kinda.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's not that I don't care. I just don't care as much.
Right. No, I mean, that's to each their own. And I'm going to go a completely different route, and I'll go baseball, because baseball is a sport that I enjoy watching and following the most. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out, if it does shake out at all. I mean, it seemed like they were coming back, and they were on track for something around July 4th. And then, I don't know, right now wheels seem to be spinning, not necessarily turning and getting towards some type of season restart. But I don't know. We'll see when more stuff comes out, because baseball has been the one sport that hasn't been able to hide what they're talking about. Everything gets leaked out very quickly.
So I just got a text from a friend saying that NBA has decided they are coming back on the 31st. And I haven't looked further into that, but
so we'll talk about that in a second, because there are details on that. But yeah, we'll talk about that.
Right
in a
on.
second, so.
Right on.
Yeah,
Go Bucks, go.
Hey, text your friend back and say he's about 3.5 hours late. I think it happened at 10:57 or something. I just saw the release.
Not quite.
Well, it was a female. It was a female, so I'll have to tell her.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Mr.
Don't hurt your Twitter vote.
Women on my teams when we draft is now saying that this female must not know enough about the NBA to be able to speak about it.
I just didn't. No, I was just saying that I have friends that are females, and I didn't know if she looked in, or if I didn't look into if she was telling the truth, or if she was just giving me a hard time.
I'm just teasing you and her, and hopefully she's a listener, and then she can come back and give you a hard time for throwing her under the bus.
You teaser, Jason, you.
All right, so we are going to talk about what came out today, just because it's the most timely news we have, and that's what the NBA has proposed. Now, this is all going to a vote tomorrow, I believe, at like 12:30 Eastern. I may be getting the time wrong, so it's not official yet. It still needs to be voted on tomorrow. But Wojnarowski, Adrian Woj, I think I'm saying that right. Woj is what everybody calls him, right? So he tweeted out a bunch of stuff, and that's what we're looking at today. So here's the basics of it. Each of the 22 teams will play 8 regular season games in Orlando for seeding purposes for the playoffs. So they're bringing back the top 22 teams. Okay, so I want to say that was 13 teams from the West and 9 teams from the East. And on top of that, so joining the 16 current playoff teams, so 8 from each side, we're going to have New Orleans, Portland, Phoenix, Sacramento, and San Antonio in the West, and then Washington in the East. And here's where it doesn't get confusing. You just have to kind of read it or talk about it a little bit. So the 9th seed, so the first team out of the playoffs, if they are more than 4 games behind the 8th team by the end, I'm guessing by the end of these 8 regular season games, then the eighth spot will make the playoffs. It'll just go in as it is. Now, if that 9th place team is less than 4 games behind that 8th place team, they'll actually do a play-in tournament. Now, tournament to me seems like a lot of teams, but it's really just the 9th place team against the 8th place team. Think of the play-in games for the NCAA tournament, where they're not quite in the tournament yet. They're actually playing a game to get a spot. And so what that looks like here is the play-in format begins. It's kind of like softball, right? At the championship game in softball, one team comes in with a loss already. The other team has no losses. So the 9th place team would have to double dip. They would have to beat the 8th place team in 2 separate games, whereas the 8th place team would only need to win one of those 2 games. And whichever one of those happens, that team then gets the 8th spot in the playoffs, and then they get the right to play the number 1 seed. So this is actually really important for the 4 of us, and for, I would guess, a lot of our listeners, that we're going to see this scenario play out for who the Bucks will end up playing in round 1. So I don't know who's currently in 8th place, but they will be battling in those 8 regular season games in Orlando with Washington to figure out who that 8th team is and who will play the Bucks in round 1. So if you guys haven't read this or heard about it yet, what are your initial thoughts? I guess you just speak freely. I don't know who has opinions on it or not.
I mean, I think it seems cool. Should be enjoyable to watch, but at the same time, I don't know if it's really necessary. I mean, they always talk about we want to do what's best for the health of all the players and everybody. And to me, why don't you just bring the teams that are in the spots right now and get the playoffs rolling? But I mean, this could be fun to watch too. So
yeah, I think they wanted to add an element of not necessarily eliminating, because they had already gone through, 70 games already. And so we were getting right into the heat of, that last playoff push for that, maybe 7th and 8th. Obviously, the West has more teams in play than the East does. I think part of it, which I've heard on some other shows, is the NBA did also want to include Zion in this and give New Orleans a chance to make the playoffs. And I guess potentially have I don't know how the West rankings standings currently are in terms of maybe a potential Lakers-Pelicans round 1 matchup. So based on this, I believe the playoffs, once they do actually start, will be like they always have been in terms of the length of the round, the number of games and things like that. Obviously, there's no travel involved, so the scheduling probably becomes a little bit easier. The other aspect to this that they did also state was that players and coaches would be able to leave the premises and they could go golf, they could go to restaurants and abide by local social distancing protocol or rules. So they're not just solely now. I take that back because it didn't necessarily say they'd be able to leave Disney. So maybe they're confined to the Disney restaurants and golf courses. I would have to do some more research on that. But it's not like they're just stuck in the hotel the whole time. They did say that the hotel staff would not be able to go into the players' rooms at all, and that they would be monitoring the hallway for every hallway, so that there's not a lot of people out in the hallways. Again, for all the social distancing rules that we're all, becoming used to at this point. So that's everything that I've heard and read. Chris, did you have any thoughts on this?
All right, I need you guys to listen up, because I'm sure most of our fans are Bucks fans, okay? This is important information. We need to get this across. If we have 8 games, we need to do everything in power to avoid the Brooklyn Nets. This is an automatic home field advantage, like home court, whatever you want to call it, is meaningless. So if we need to tank 8 games to be the 2 seed, if they're the 8 seed, or vice versa, be the 1 if they're the 7, we can't play Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant in the first round. Like, as a Bucks
supposedly
fan,
Durant is not coming back.
Is that so? For sure?
Yeah. That's everything I've heard is he's not.
Forget what I just said. Not worried about Kyrie.
Yeah, me neither. Kyrie's close to the edge of the world, so he might fall off. So I'm not worried about Kyrie.
That's the case. That would have been the only thing that really comes to mind. If he's playing, that is an all-time. That's a difficult matchup, and no longer a 7 seed or 8 seed. So you avoid that.
Certainly things could change, but from everything I've heard is they've already come out and said that he's not, or he has already come out and said he's not going to play.
He's playing. I'll be the first one to say it on this network right here of nothing. He's going to play. This is end of June. He's going to be another month in shape. Like, if he's ready to go, why would he just sit out?
July, I thought, isn't it?
I think he's come back in July. So this means he's coming back.
2 months.
He's putting on a front for everybody. We're going to see Durant back.
Potentially. And then then it's probably a good thing that they put in these games to allow teams to strategically move around as they see fit. Now, the weird part is that all these teams are vying for, the 8th place spot. Those are the meaningful games for them, but they don't have the benefit of their schedule, where they might have had to play the Knicks or something, a bad team where it's almost a guaranteed win to really help their playoff push. And now they're confined to these 22 teams, and so one team may have, I don't know if they're just, well, it wouldn't be a round robin, but it'll be interesting to see how they schedule that. And like, hey, you have to play the Bucks and whoever the Sixers and a couple of the other good teams, and try to win those, whereas somebody else may have the bottom half of these to play against. Ben, what are your thoughts on the comeback? You like it? Do you wish they would have done something different? Were you hoping for a single elimination with more teams involved?
Nah, and this is fine to me. I'm more locked in right now. I'd like to see what more happens with Zion, his little side stuff that's going on at the moment with all the lawsuit and everything. And that interests me more than this playoff stuff does. Again, mostly because the Bucks are basically in. It's just a matter of what seed. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Zion's in a civil suit right now with a marketing firm, I believe, and all going back to his time at Duke and him or his parents receiving other benefits from whether it's Nike. Well, actually, I think it was multiple shoe brands, and then potentially also from people affiliated with Duke, and what's all going to come of that. I don't see much coming of that, to be totally honest. And if something does, I don't really care. It's not the same type of situation where it was like, well, Duke got Zion and then they won a national championship. So what are they going to strip away from Duke? Like, I mean, they could do certain other things in terms of, suspensions and taking recruits away or scholarships or whatever it may be. But what's interesting about that is that Zion also, it's a counter sue situation. So he actually sued this agent that he signed with this marketing firm because apparently they were not licensed in the state of North Carolina. And so therefore they could not uphold what they were, trying to say. And then they countersued saying, well, he received all these additional benefits and therefore, so it's two different cases going on at the same time. I would think they're probably ultimately both going to just kind of go away without anything major happening. Now, if something happens to Duke, we'll probably find out about that from Deke before anybody else, because he'll probably be running around his house naked with just a Tar Heel painted over his butt or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'd be totally shocked if nothing happened to Duke, because I'm sure Zion didn't get any benefits.
But I think we would all agree, right, that we assume that all of the top players around the country get benefits, right? Do you guys actually think programs out there are clean? The ones that are getting top player. I'm not saying like programs that aren't getting top players. We're talking about like the top, let's call it top 20 recruits. Do you assume that some of those top
stuff? Are you kidding me?
Right.
Come on.
So
not be blind here.
And that means that a lot of different schools are giving out benefits, and the Kansas Jayhawks have a lot of the same stuff going on. Has anything really happened to Kansas? Have there been penalties handed down to them?
I don't believe full penalties have been handed out, but you have to remember these programs have some of the best lawyers in the world, and they're going to find those minimal gray lines, however they're distributing money, funds, clothes, whatever it might be that they're receiving. They're finding loopholes in that text, just like every business does, and I'm sure there's something that they're doing. So it's going to be why I wish it was more exposed, but definitely. I mean,
there might be information that comes out, but I don't think that ultimately anything's going to happen to Duke.
So the real question is do we think Zion got paid more at Duke than he does in New Orleans?
I doubt it.
Not at New Orleans, but you that's where I think the G League is going to be very interesting, because they're going to come up with more creative ways to get these guys higher contracts or some sort of deals compared to what the publicity they're going to get for their name in college. So it'll be interesting going forward for recruits.
So as and I'll start with Ben here, as this sort of stuff happens, and it's happened, dating back, every different sport and major colleges have been affected by this. But as the NCAA moves towards paying players or, some type of open market where schools can pay them what they want for them to come, especially these one and done type situations, how do you then view players or programs that have had stuff stripped away? So Ben, for example, like Reggie Bush gets his Heisman taken away, and teams have gotten their, like Memphis, they get their championship seasons, those wins are scrubbed, even though we know those teams won, like in the record books, they're no longer the champions. They can't hang a banner, things like that. So do you view those differently, or because there were rules in place then, like, okay, well then they were breaking the rules, but now.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, like for the pay for play stuff, I think we all kind of agree it's going on to a certain extent right now at some point. So if something happens now, people get busted, it's illegal. If it all of a sudden becomes legal, people are getting paid out in the open. It happens, and then there's no repercussions for it. But do you view it differently, kind of like the marijuana situation, right? Do you view somebody that is potentially put in jail or has a record for something to do with marijuana, but then it becomes legal so now it's totally fine. So do you look back at that person who has the record and be like, oh, I don't know, he's got a record, like, oh, I don't know, Reggie Bush, he did this stuff that was cheating. Are we just saying it's okay? Like, say baseball all of a sudden said steroids were fine, use them however you want. Do we then go back and say Clemens and Bonds and you guys can be in the Hall of Fame and we should definitely vote them in? Or do we still view them as cheaters like they're currently viewed now? I guess I would say let them in. If you adapt it now, make it, whatever.
Retroactive?
Yeah, retroactive all the way back. I mean, that's the easiest way to do it. Makes the most sense to me, kind because at the same time, we know how many people, like with the steroids thing, we have an idea how many people we think we're doing it. I'm sure there's many more people who we have no idea we're doing it. Not everybody got caught. So it's like at the same time, just make the playing field even for everybody.
If I had the talent,
Chris?
I would have done it.
You can do it now, man.
Nah, I can't. Let's be honest.
You could be like.
I seen you play Sandlot. You were pretty good.
You've seen me, exactly. That's a past tense. I get hurt running to get the mail now. Okay, so
You run to
run to get the mail.
Wow, you run.
my only exercise of the day.
How far
I
is
can
your
just picture
mailbox?
Chris like out the door, just.
Sometimes
Grabs it.
high knees. Yeah.
And it was my
neighbors
time,
probably
baby.
think I'm-
Yeah.
Do you ever
his wife is in the
do
front door
defensive
with a
slides to the
softball.
box? Defensive slides to the box?
In the garage, yes, but definitely not in front of the public. I'm a little gun shy there.
Hannah's inside the front door with a stopwatch right when he comes through. And, just
Quick
a
feet,
tick
quick
slower
feet.
than yesterday.
Get low.
Not a
Oh,
bad
that's-
game.
I like it.
What was the
Maybe
question?
you could film it
What
for
was I
us.
supposed to answer?
So if you view like past people who got dinged by these sort of rules that are essentially going to go away if we get to the pay for play. So like a Reggie Bush, say Zion, something happens to Duke now, but then in a year or so they start paying players. So what's the point of what they just did this year?
I mean, I got a little lost or sidetracked there, but I think we need to look at it a little bit more in context and understand who these people are. Like the same thing with an asterisk. Like I just want to know what era was he in. Yeah, like Ben said about the steroids. I understand about the era. There's plenty of guys taking it, maybe a few that weren't, and unfortunately couldn't, have the same pay or value. But like I still want to know about their place in history. I just want to know maybe they're potentially guilty of. It's just more of a information based compared to an actual ranking or judgment of them.
Yeah, I've heard on other shows, and talks of like Baseball Hall of Fame. It's a museum, so just put them in. Like at their time, based on it's the steroid era. So make a steroid era wing, and then just put everybody in it and tell the story of the steroid era. And Bonds and Clemens and McGuire and Sosa were the top guys in that era, and just tell that story. And I don't
If they're
see
not
anything wrong
there,
with that.
how do you explain that to your kids right now for you guys? Like,
Right.
oh well, they don't tell you about this, but these three guys were unbelievable. Like, but
Right.
they might have done something that somebody else did and didn't get caught.
Yeah.
So
Or maybe
you
by the
still
time
have
we're
to tell
telling
the
our
story.
kids, maybe by the time we're telling the kids steroids are the ones they took then are now legal and other ones are illegal or whatever. And it's
Totally.
like, oh, well, back then you couldn't do that. And they were doing it. And you're right. Deke,
Times are changing.
your final thoughts on that?
Well, I willingly shaved my bats in softball, so if that tells you anything.
I
And
honestly
used them.
thought you said your back. And I was like,
No,
I don't know how that.
BATS, bat.
Okay. So he does not shave his back, only his bats.
Well, no, I think he does
I
shave his
don't-
back.
It's, whatever. Sometimes you got it. If you're manly, you're manly.
Purrs like a walrus.
I don't care about this. I see the paying players a little differently in the steroids. When they say performance enhancing, that's such a broad brush. It's so funny to me, and we could have a whole show on that.
We could.
The paying the players type of thing. I'd have to think about that. I really didn't even think about what you posed as a question, to be honest. Like what happens to the previous people that got in trouble for it.
See, put it this way. Ohio State football team was worth, I think, 1.3 or 1.5 billion dollars. Like, what is that value to you as a person that's in that program? Do you know what I'm saying? Like the value that they're portrayed at based on what their revenue brings in is a very high number. Are you frozen?
Well,
or just
no. Are you saying do I think the guy should get paid?
Yeah, because I think that's where it comes down to, like, as far as where do you see it coming or going to that?
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking more of the question that Jason posed of what the people would happen to if it became legal.
Gotcha.
Like what would happen to Reggie Bush. But overall, do I think they should get paid? I think it's a dicey situation because I do think that you could have a separation of power, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that's exactly what you want, but I do also think that certain players should be able to benefit at least somewhat off of their their likeness. Even you take Tebow, these college greats, Johnny Manziel, the Fab Five. I do think they should probably get something, but then again, it could start that huge snowball, which could turn into a problem. So it's a fine line and a nice dance you have to figure out.
Good thing you see Tebow and Johnny Manziel on the same 1-2 list that you go off of. That's really good to see.
Hey.
Yeah, two greats that aren't in the league anymore.
College greats. You have to admit they're college greats.
Yeah.
Tebow was.
That's a whole nother conversation. All right. Well, I guess we'll just wrap that up. So there'll be probably a lot more news, especially once the vote happens tomorrow. I don't know if any other stuff any other details will come out tonight yet. They may have come out since we've started this show. But tomorrow when they vote on it, obviously if it gets approved, we'll get all of the finer details when it comes to this. And it'll be interesting. I know we're all looking forward to some live sports. So we have golf coming back soon. We have hopefully basketball coming back towards the end of July. Maybe baseball. We'll see. And then I believe, if memory serves correct, that hockey is coming back straight into the playoffs. I don't know when that is going to happen. And then, as Chris stated, that MLS is also on its way back. So we're getting back to a little bit more normal, and we'll just see how that all plays out. So that's going to wrap up our talk there on the new NBA restart playoff scenario that was proposed and will be voted on tomorrow. So we're going to take that right into our recurring segment on what else are you watching, and we just throw it around the horn here. We're going to start with Ben. Ben, what are you currently watching?
Currently watching. I am going through the second half of this last season of Rick and Morty. So.
Oh, you're still okay.
Yep. So for those of you who listened to our,
animated show draft?
Yeah, animated show draft. Yep, that was one I had on there. It's entertaining. Like I said, it's different than a lot of the other animated shows you watch, but they had such a big break in between the first half of this season and the second half, so I'm just kind of getting caught up on the second half now.
What is the closest animated show that you could relate it to? Is it Family Guy, or is it closer to the humor of one of the other ones?
Family Guy is probably similar, where there's some odds. You almost have to watch some episodes a couple of times to see. To really catch, I guess, what's going on. There's such like a deep story in it. There's a lot of different sci-fi aspects to it, and it's just, yeah, it's an out there kind of show.
Okay, fair enough. So you recommend it?
Yeah. Give it a watch. I definitely think it's worth it. I do know the first time I watched through the first season, I was a little, I didn't really get it, and then you watch it the second time, and for me, I pay a little more attention the second time watching through than the first time, so it made a little more sense.
And that's HBO?
No, that is, I think it's Cartoon Network.
Okay. I want to say they also show it on HBO.
They might, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say I saw it on HBO Max or something.
If you have your Hulu, you might be able to get it on there.
Maybe that's where I saw it. I'm not sure. I have too many channels. So, Deke, what are you watching right now?
You guys hear me okay right now?
Yeah, hey, you can lean back and chill all you want, man. What's going on?
Yeah. So I'm still watching that All American show, and I still don't.
Deke. So I heard literally today on the Dan Patrick Show,
Okay.
Dan Patrick is also an Outer Banks watcher,
Oh,
and
nice.
he stands by that. So they had a poll question on, what would you rather watch when it comes down to like top NBA teams playing, but also potentially the NFL season starting back up, and if there's a big NBA game or a big NFL game. And he was about to choose, and then somebody said, well, what if Outer Banks comes out with a new season at the same time? And he said, oh, well, then I'm watching Outer Banks. Then no question.
Yeah, I am definitely waiting for the next season of Outer Banks. That's for sure. But I was still watching All American, which is, I don't know why. I'm not sure. I like it. It keeps my attention. It's got to be the football.
But not necessarily a ringing endorsement?
No. I did start watching. I watched about 40 minutes last night of Uncut Gems.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not finished with it. So no giveaways. And other than that, for some reason, I just felt like watching a little old TV land, and I've been watching 2.5 Men.
Oh, yeah. Always good to throw on.
So
That's a fun one. All right. And where'd you find 2.5 Men on TV land? Is that just regular cable or?
yeah, just regular cable.
Gotcha. Yeah, there always seems to be a 2.5 Men marathon going on.
Yeah, I mean Charlie Sheen. It's funny.
You should wear a bowling shirt with your what's on Deke's Dome. Like,
Oh yeah, the shirts with the stripe down the middle.
Yep.
Sometimes those are coaching shirts too.
Right. Absolutely. So Chris, what are you watching right now?
So we did watch Uncut Gems. Only thing I'll say about that is intense. If you have any type of anxieties, it seems like that the voices are always intense and that never ends. So overall, though, I really like the movie. So until these guys finish it, I won't say anything else. We started Schitt's Creek. It
Nice.
is.
Whoa.
Yes,
That's one of my
we
favorites.
needed something funny in our lineup, and it's just something you can kind of mindlessly watch. So it's
David.
pretty
David
funny
is
so
my
far.
favorite.
It's weird though, but it's funny.
It is weird. Schitt's Creek, I believe, is all on Netflix, and we've been through that. Every time it comes out, we binge it very quickly. My wife and I, and David is definitely my favorite there. So, awesome.
Last thing we're watching is Jeffrey Epstein, the documentary on Netflix.
Really good, really disturbing.
Boy, was it a little disturbing. Let's be honest.
It's
Really?
We're only a few episodes
yeah.
through. It is not something you want to take.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's intense.
I had known a lot about, everybody saw the headlines, right? And then since he's died, everybody's, seen that or the memes that he didn't kill himself and all this sort of stuff. But I didn't really know the whole backstory or to the extent to which this documentary goes. And yeah, the documentary on Netflix on that is very shocking and very disturbing. It's not necessarily like hard to watch in terms of visual. It's just all the different stories that come into play. You're just like, oh my God, this guy is disgusting. And
you're in awe a lot.
Right. But then the different ties to all these different people that you do know, the different associations that he has throughout his life are very interesting to say the least. So yeah, we watched that one as well. Sad news on my part. I did finish the Great British Baking Show. Yeah. So I was sad to see that go. However, I did find it was a separate 2 episodes of the same show, but it was a holiday edition. So I have 2 more episodes to watch. I haven't quite dug into those yet. We are currently watching, like the mindlessly watching. We're watching Somebody Feed Phil or something like that, which is on Netflix, which is pretty good. It's just like a travel show where he goes to different places in the world and then eats and talks. And he's kind of a goofy guy. it's kind of like the guy you'd see walking around your neighborhood at like an unusually fast pace, but like kind of like awkward, bouncy step. Like, oh, that guy just looks awkward. He's that guy. And then as soon as you give him the time of day and say, like, hey, how you doing? He's right up next to you, telling you everything about his life story. That's the kind of guy he is, which is a little weird, but show's decent. Cool to see a bunch of different places and the food that they eat. We're still watching that 11/22/63, which it still seems to be pretty good. And I've been keeping up with Billions on Showtime, the new season on that. So if you haven't watched Billions and you have access to Showtime, I would definitely recommend that. So that wraps up our what else are you watching? And that's going to take us right into our draft this week. And our draft this week is all-time boy band drafts. So we were going to do this a little while ago, but we decided to wait till Ben was with us. And so if you don't know what a boy band is, I'm sure you'll figure out really quick when we start drafting these squads what they're all about. So looks like I forgot to move the little arrow things down, but
so when I'm searching boy bands, there's a lot of bands that I'm not sure actually qualify. So how are we just gonna vote on it if it's ones in question that gets drafted?
And what do you mean by you don't think they qualify? Because we can sort of qualify them or unqualify them right now.
Or do you not want to give away any of your?
I don't want to give away if they.
Well,
I mean, let me try to find one that's.
Well, just give an example.
So like R&B groups.
Right. If it's all boys, I mean, like it doesn't have to be a band in the terms of they're playing instruments, right? Because think of the main, right? But Boys to Men is the same as NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. They're an all male group that, and in that sense, boy band, like.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's where I'm getting thrown off because I know Boys to Men wouldn't be down with them being called a boy band.
Right. So they don't necessarily skew younger, but I would still consider them a boy band, I guess.
Male group band? I mean,
when you go
I get it. I got it. I'm cool.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah. But somebody like Zach Brown band would not be, even though they're all men, would not be considered a boy band. Even though they're a band of all boys. So I guess if they come up and anybody has...
A group of singers.
Yes.
I think the hardest thing here is going to be getting 16 of them.
Yes.
If there's 4 rounds,
There'll be a couple stretches, but we'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll be good.
So the random order this week is Deke, then myself, Ben, and then Chris. And then it will snake draft like usual. Let me get these little guys moved here. And Deke, you do have the #1 overall selection. What is going on here? This is all sorts of screwed up.
Yeah, I do.
You do have it picked out already? You know exactly.
NSYNC. It's NSYNC.
He's going NSYNC. I assumed it had to be NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. Was there ever a question in your mind?
No.
Yes.
I like the Backstreet Boys, but I love Timberlake. That's what puts me over the top. And I did actually like their music too. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. So
fair enough.
No questions in my mind that it was going to be NSYNC.
Yeah.
It's gonna be me.
And that essentially makes my choice for me, right? Because if you're going to take NSYNC, then I guess I have to take the Backstreet Boys. I can't necessarily move off from that and go my own route. So that's what will be the second pick in the draft, and that'll take us to Ben with the third pick. So this is where this is where it starts to get interesting right away at the #3 pick, because it depends on how you look at things.
Boys to Men. Those were my top 3. NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Boys to Men, in that order.
Okay. All right. So you got who you thought was going to be there. Which takes us to Chris. Chris, give me one. We'll show the board. Actually, you know what? Let's do 2 full rounds, and then we'll stop at pick 8. So Chris, you can give me both of your picks whenever you have them ready, or just one at a time.
Interesting. You guys went this way. I think I'm gonna go with the Beatles.
See what I mean? See what I mean?
I think that this is a true. It was between them or Jackson 5 who I was gonna go with.
Yeah, I don't consider the Beatles a boy band. I consider them a band.
They're all singers.
And boys.
Well, right, but just like the Zac Brown band, like I had mentioned, they're a band of all males.
Metallica?
Right. So that's where we get into like the people that. I mean, let's just put it to a vote. It's between me, Ben, and Deke. Either thumbs up or thumbs down to the Beatles. Yeah, I would go thumbs down as well.
I would have given you
Ben,
a thumbs up, Chris, because I would have.
Oh, sure. You after we said thumbs down, you wanna.
Sorry, Chris. I mean, yeah, we'll just have to have those tough votes on those, I guess.
So is that an automatic thumbs down for the Jackson 5?
No, I would
No.
give them a thumbs up.
I think they're a boy band. That common
Done.
sense to me
Jackson
tells
5.
me that their music was a little more boy bandish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's also the style of the music that they sing, not just the group themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically it skews younger and it skews female, which the Beatles had a huge female following, certainly. And their music, I guess, at the time probably skewed younger, but not as young as, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. Although then you throw Boys to Men. It's interesting topic. So, Chris, you have another pick here. Your second pick, 5th overall. Which one are you going to have us vote on this time?
I'm so proud of this pick. Yeah, I don't even know where they would fit in. I could care less, I guess, but I'll have a couple voters for it. One Direction.
Yeah, no, that's a good. I think it's a good pick.
One of the all-time best boy bands. They're certainly up there. I thought they would have been. I thought that might have been where Ben would have picked. Would have been One Direction. Not necessarily your favorite, Ben. I mean,
Gotcha.
But in terms of boy bands, after NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, they were like the next really big one. So that takes us back to Ben. Pick 6, his second pick. Who are you going with?
Throwing it back a little bit, I'm going to go with All for One.
Wow.
I swear.
This is where I'm not worried about Ben.
Roller
It's
skating
over.
cartoons, baby.
Ben has gone purely R&B with Boys to Men and All for One. It'll be interesting to see how this one, because I would say the majority of our listeners are also men. So who knows their taste in music, but we'll see how they feel about boy bands. The nice thing is when you do vote on Twitter, it is an anonymous vote. We don't even see who votes for which teams, which is why there's such controversy around Deke's typical winnings, which he did take a week off, which was nice. I mean, he kind of let everything simmer so that he could come back with some more controversy maybe this week. Well, I think
I may have reached there. I should have gone with something else, but that's my fault.
No, you never reach Ben. It's all good. Do you think? Do you think?
I'm going to go 98 Degrees here. I'll go Nick Lachey. Get that.
Cool part is it was
Yeah.
over 98 degrees in Wisconsin yesterday.
It's currently probably about 98% humidity in my garage right now, and my family has the fan out in the backyard, so I am sweating. Deke, give me your first pick, and then we'll show the board recap
Yes.
after 2 rounds.
Absolutely. So I am going with New Kids on the Block.
Is it kids with an S or a Z?
S.
I thought that was going to be Deke's first pick. They were hot back when he was young.
They actually were very hot, especially when I was like a boy wanting to be cool.
Yeah, sort of a grown man, but
10 to 15 years old.
So that's how it panned out here over 2 rounds. We had Deke taking NSYNC and New Kids on the Block. I took Backstreet Boys and 98 Degrees. Ben went Boys to Men and All for One. Chris went Jackson 5 in one direction. So now it's going to loop back here with Deke having the 9th pick, and we'll head towards Chris. Then Chris will have 2 picks and bring it back towards Deke to end the draft. So things are panning out interestingly, and like we mentioned, this is where it'll really
sort of.
Yeah, where everybody goes. So Deke, why don't you lead us off? 9th pick. Who are you going to go with?
Yeah, so I actually don't know his name, but I do love like the lead guy of this boy band or band, but the Jonas Brothers.
Oh, that's a good one.
But I don't know that. Yeah, there's 3. I mean, they all have their own thing, but that one guy I really like his music, but I'm not sure. I really struggle with that. Like, I like music a lot, but I don't always like know who's singing the songs, but I can get into it and sing it and dance to it. But then somebody asks me like, you should know that song. It's your favorite song. You dance to it all the time. I'm like, I have no idea who sings it. It's great.
Right. So that
I think it's Nick. I think it's
who's
Nick
doing
Jonas,
the movies.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the Jumanji movies. Telephone.
Oops.
Yeah, I think that's a really good pick. I actually wasn't even thinking about. I don't have a list. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head right now. I'm actually going to go with one that I really enjoy, and I actually currently enjoy now because they still put out music from time to time. I'd love to see them live. I've seen live videos and really enjoy them, and that's Hanson. I'm going to go with Hanson.
What was Deke 2nd round pick, number 8?
New Kids on the Block.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hanson still puts out songs?
Yeah, they still perform. I don't know if they probably have new albums. I don't necessarily follow their new music. It's just interesting to hear them play the old stuff that they're known for now when they're
just
kind of
Mbop?
going. Well, no, I mean they have multiple songs, but
Oh, okay. I only know them from Mbop.
But unlike the rest of the boy bands, they actually play the instruments. So to me, they kind of, they check a couple boxes because I enjoy watching people that can play and perform, and they're not like the dancing type boy band, but yeah. So I keep scouring the schedules to see when they're going to be in the area. So Ben, the 11th pick overall, your 3rd. Which boy band are you going with?
I'm going to go with a little B2K. Baby, turn around and let me see that sexy body go bump, bump, bump.
Ben going R&B once again. He is
They're the best.
R&B Nation. I just don't see you as that guy, but now I know like you secretly go in your bedroom and just jam out to R&B tunes.
Oh, I loved them, man. Those are my go-tos.
So I won't say anything because I don't want to put any ideas in Chris's head, but I'm just wondering if I have somebody in mind for Ben's last pick. I just wonder if they'll get to him, and if they are there, if he'll pick them to kind of round out his R&B squad. So Chris, you got 2 picks. Do you have 2 bands in mind?
I have a few in mind. I'm not sure if I'll go old school with my very last pick or if I'll keep just the Jackson 5 as my old school team. But for the very first one, I will go with the LFO. Light funky ones, are they? Is that how you say it? Oh, kids out there?
They sing the Abercrombie and Fitch song.
Yeah, New Kids on the Block. We're Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Called Summer Girls for all of our listeners that want to enjoy a little.
They want to look them up.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. And do you know who you're taking with the next pick?
Black girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch.
Okay.
I think I'm trying to sing the rest of it, but I don't remember.
I only got 2 left on the list, and I don't know if I want to give away the old school name and not take it, because then you guys might sneak one in there and get that vote. But
yeah, that's true.
I'll just circle it. If it doesn't come up, I'll be interested. But we'll go with O-Town.
Ooh, good pick.
Yep, they were on my board.
Oh,
that was my next pick. Chris put me on.
Oh, Ben was gonna break the R&B streak. Ben, would you like a suggestion?
You got to finish out your R&B stuff, Ben.
Can I
Ben,
get
would
some
you like to-
background music, please?
There's a couple R&B tunes or groups out there.
Yeah, Ben, would you like an R&B suggestion?
Well, if you want to throw it out there, go ahead and throw it out.
I think for sure to round out your squad, you got to go Casey and JoJo.
Does that
That's not
count?
even the
That's
one
just
I
two
was
guys
thinking.
though. Like I wouldn't consider them a boy band. It's a duet. It's two guys. Don't you have to have at least 3 or 4? That's what I
don't know.
Yeah.
Do you?
I guess that was my thinking. They weren't even.
I
on
say thumbs down on the Casey and JoJo.
Okay.
But I mean, you got Chris is up to Chris. Okay,
Yeah.
they're out, man.
Chris was going to
I'm gonna-
vote thumbs down to anything brought up after he got denied the Beatles.
I'm gonna go with
There's a
a
sneaky
little BB Mac for my last group. You don't like BB Mac? Until you're back here, baby.
Fine, it's a great pick. I love it. It's a great.
So, help me with the spelling on BB Mac.
Just 2 B's and then Mac, M-A-K, BB Mac, all at one, no spaces.
Oh, one. Okay.
Yeah.
Is the M capitalized too?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I honestly do not know who I'm going with. There's not a lot of lists of boy bands. There's lists of boy band songs that I've found a lot of. So honestly, I'm at a loss. I'm trying to look over the picture that's behind the.
Well, it
behind the
must be an
draft board.
advantage. Pretty big advantage for him to have that, right, guys?
It's been up there before.
I think we should
and
take away
it's-
one of his. I think we should take away one of his wins. Now that we realize he's got that background all the time.
Yeah, take away 2 of my wins. That's right up your alley. You and Steinbach. Okay, I'm going to go with very new, and this probably isn't going to win me any votes, but I mean they're probably the most popular boy band in the world right now, and that is BTS.
Oh man, they're good.
I don't actually know any of their music, just looking up stuff on the
It's
rankings.
good.
I think it's South
So-
Korean hip hop.
It
Yeah,
is
so
South
it's-
Korean.
Yeah.
It's a septet, so there's 7 of them, and their name stands for Beyond the Scene, and it's what you may have heard is K-pop, and so that'd be Korean pop music. So that's who, South Korean, but that's who I'm going with. I'm going with BTS. So that leaves us to Deke to round it out with the last pick of the draft, and then we'll show the board again.
Yep. So I'm staying recent. I'm going with 5 Seconds of Summer. A couple songs I like by them, and again, I don't know the song name, but when they come on and I see their name on my Sirius XM, I'm like, I like this song.
Can I get a sample of that song?
Nope.
Because I don't know that one.
Just remember that I know I like it when their name comes up, and it makes me happy.
Then that's the name of the band, not the song.
5 Seconds of Summer is the name of the band. Yes.
Okay.
Jason, before you put the board up, if I'm
Yeah.
gonna share an image of this group as a boy band, potentially a boy band, and see if you guys think it would have been a great vote or not, or a great addition to your teams. So I'm gonna share that here.
Give me
Can
one
you
second.
guys name?
The Monkeys.
Hey, what a monkeys!
the
People say we
Monkeys?
monkey around.
I'm surprised nobody wanted to go with that one in the
I
end.
think they would have got voted down the same way the Beatles did.
I would have voted
Really?
down on the Monkeys. Yeah.
I mean, if we voted no for the Beatles, we couldn't vote yes for the Monkees.
And you gave me the Jackson 5 as a W. Thank you, guys.
I think that's where Chris is going.
very confident.
Oh, my team is just stacked. I mean, if they look at this fairly, it is a no-brainer here.
All right, well, let's
W
pull it up here
number
and let everybody
4.
look at it. So Chris is very confident with Jackson 5, One Direction, LFO, and O-Town. I think Chris's first 2 are huge. Jackson 5, One Direction are huge. Ben went R&B top to bottom. He went Boyz II Men, All for One, B2K, and BB Mac. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a lot of R&B fans, or maybe we have a lot of actual boy band haters that will pick Ben's team because they don't necessarily view them in the same light. So maybe Ben will get some votes that way. Or they remember middle school dances and they love all those jams that they used to dance to, with hands on hips and, you know, social distancing dancing. I went with Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, Hanson, and the K-pop band, boy band BTS. And then Deke rounded it out with NSYNC, New Kids on the Block, Jonas Brothers, and 5 Seconds of Summer. So I don't know what you guys think. I can't necessarily pick. I like my squad. I like to listen to. I wish I had NSYNC instead of Backstreet Boys, but I like to listen to at least the first three. I don't know any of the music of BTS, but anybody like anybody else's squad more than their own?
No, I don't see any way my team doesn't win this one.
So let's see here. Yeah, well,
I have two absolute classic boy bands. I mean, they're classic. And then I have the other two are the two most popular, quote unquote, maybe pop bands going right now currently. So it's going to be a landslide, my guess.
Well,
I would like to know the age demographic of our voters as well.
That's part of it, right? If we have guys that are our age in terms of Ben, myself, and Chris, they may not care about New Kids on the Block. And is 5 Seconds of Summer old or new?
They're new.
Very confusing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't
like
just scratch
thing.
that one off. Deke only has 3.
Hey, it don't matter, boys. I'll figure out a way to get the votes.
You undoubtedly will.
Sounds about right. With that, I will close it up and let Deke start hitting his Twitter accounts and getting everybody ready for the poll that will come out. But there are 2 different polls that are out there. So there's our Twitter poll, which is the sport that you're excited to see back. So that will be up right away. And then as soon as we get the episode up, we will also put out the results from this draft and let you vote on who you think has the best lineup for all-time boy bands. So be sure to hit us up on Twitter at @rest_field, on Instagram, the rest of the field. I haven't been doing a great job on Instagram. I need to get back to doing that. Obviously, you're watching on YouTube, so give us a subscribe if you haven't already. Give us the likes and the follow on Twitter, and tag some other people in it and let them know. At least get them on there to vote. They don't necessarily have to listen to the episode. They'll get around to that eventually. We just want to see we want more votes to see how these drafts turn out. And then we also like the suggestions, and we like the comments, from different people on the process of how they voted. So help us get the word out about these drafts the best we can, so we don't have to rely on Deke and his bots to get himself all the votes. So with that, I'll wrap it up. And again, we are the rest of the field. My name is Jason Gorman, for Chris Weiler, Deke, and Ben Christensen. Thank you for tuning in. Please tune in. We'll have something for you on the weekend here, hopefully, and then tune in next week. And from here on out, this was episode 8 of The Rest of the Field. Thank you, and we are out.
Quick question. Would Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch have been allowed?
Yeah,
I say yeah.
Too late. All right.
You want to go back and
Nope.
set out with BB Mac?
No, I was trying to help you out with your 5 Seconds of Summer.
Just go on YouTube. You'll know their songs. Seriously.
Chris,
yeah.
We'll do it. We'll do it, but we'll end the episode. This is all still content that we're adding on.
Okay.
So we'll end that. We can talk offline. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Chris is already gone. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.